Okay. Well, another good question is, how do we feel about the second or third Cure album that we've covered? Matt, run the numbers, and Josh will set the table.
Okay, so The Cure's Pornography comes in at number 39 in the 1980s on Best Ever Albums, number 4 in 1982, number 309 of all overall, and it is their second highest rated album on Best Ever Albums, behind Disintegration, which is what an album we're gonna cover in a while. That's from 1989, so we got a ways to go for that. It's not on Rolling Stone's list. It did. They are ranked number 29 of overall artists on Best Ever Albums, so cracking the top 30 there. And is this
what type of pornography do you think Robert Smith?
Oh God,
depressing pornography,
snuff films.
I thought I'd ask that anyway.
Actually, I think
Josh.
It's your turn to start, John.
Is it mine? Okay,
No, it's
gotcha.
me.
It's
okay,
Matt.
it's
I'm
not
sorry.
me,
Yep.
that's
Yeah, you
all
started
I-
the last one.
Sorry about that.
That's all good. So this is a dense record. This is this is not the Cure that I knew from my Galore Greatest Hits album. There is not one of these songs made the Galore album, and we've talked a lot tonight about, and for these different albums, about either variety or mixing something up, or sameness and getting over that. This album is definitely samey. It's good. I want to say that I like it, but it really did for me blend together, and I've yet to be able to differentiate a whole lot between these songs. There's the production is very similar throughout. The sound is very, I mean, Josh, you talk about the last album making you feel depressed.
Yep.
Like and I think The Cure is one of those bands that they're considered a goth rock band, but they don't like that name. It's like, but that's what this is. I mean, this is a dark, depressive sound. Robert Smith's voice just sounds like it's, the end of the world is coming and I'm in pain and this is horrible things happening. I mean, this is just this to me is more of just placing, as much of any album, placing me in a mood, because it's just that's what's emanating from all of these songs. So I like I said, I do like it. There's some cool drumming parts, a really fast drumming. I like the echoey guitar sound. I do like Robert Smith's voice. But I got to tell you guys, it's really hard for me to kind of parse one song from the next here, because this was just an overall 8-track, 40-minute long kind of depressive experience. I don't necessarily, I definitely think that this is an album that's better played in certain moods. Probably, I can't say that I'm always ready to hear this. It's interesting to me that this is their second highest rated album on Best Ever Albums. I would have thought I could have done with more variety here, I guess. And I know enough Cure to know that they do have the pop element to them. Sometimes they can draw away and draw back from this morose type sound. But heavy. It's a very full sound. There's no space, right? And it's just a very dark experience. So I still think all that said, I still think I'm thumbs up, because I think they do it really well and it's cool. It's just a lot. It's just a lot for an album, and I would have appreciated it to be to get some more variety in there. But this is a heavy record.
It's not very. This was kind of a head scratcher for me. How did The Cure get so popular? If you just listen to this album, you wouldn't think they would become as popular as they did. This album is very dark and ominous sounding. It's heavy, like you said. You can feel kind of the existential angst on it,
but heavy not like in a metal way, but heavy and just like the emotion, like a heavy emotion.
Yeah, you can kind of feel the despair on this album.
Yes,
and it's kind of a turn off for me. I agree. I like Robert Smith's voice. That's kind of a saving grace on this album for me. But it's it's a dark record. It's a little droning as well at times. What else did I write? It's kind of eerie sounding at times. I agree. I think the drums are kind of a standout thing that I noticed. Like on the song like The Hanging Garden, there's kind of this constant drum beat to it. And what else did I put? Oh, a song like Cold, which is the second to last track. There's this cool cello part in the beginning, but then it's got like a, I don't know, like a haunted house vibe to it. it's I mean, that could kind of be said. I guess it's fitting in with the goth rock kind of genre, even though they don't describe themselves as that. But what is kind of, I guess 100 Years is probably the perfect example of what I'm trying to describe. It's the title, it's the opening track on the album, and it really kind of sets the stage. Hanging Garden's probably kind of the same way in terms of feeling. It was just a lot, like Matt said, and it's one of those albums you have to kind of be in the right headspace for, I think. I'm not sure I was there for that. I was kind of, we've listened to a couple Cure albums now, and the last one I was kind of hoping they would become more poppy, like the singles that I know of theirs, and I was kind of looking forward to that. And this was kind of like a dark turn before the light at the end of the tunnel, maybe. And I just wasn't prepared for it.
It's funny you guys think of The Cure as like this singles band, and maybe it's because I have I think of The Cure having
I have a
that.
Singles record because that's what
Well,
I
and
have.
that's
Is
why
a singles record.
The Cure is interesting because like they have this career as a singles band, right? But like it's just funny how you get to them, because I know the spoiler. I know this album, so I knew what I was listening to. So I picked I love this album. I really do. Everything you guys have. I mean, I think Robert Smith's quote. I don't remember it, but he basically said like, I want to make like, basically like the darkest album ever, something along those lines. And it basically was designed. I think that this album is designed to connect with you if you have dark moods, and like kind of it like has to be listened to in that context. Like it's not designed for someone who is in the right headspace. Some people, that's a really scary idea. The idea that like there's music for people who aren't in the right headspace. You know what I mean? It's because it's like the idea is that sometimes you're not in the right headspace, right? And that for some people that's like terrifying, or they don't like, and I completely understand that, right? But sometimes I'm not in the right headspace. And like these are the types of albums that like help me. I know it's crazy to say that, but to know that there's someone who like is experiencing it sonically, like what it feels like. I mean, there are lyrically, this is a incredibly bleak album. It's nihilistic. It's unrelentingly dour. There is no pockets of relent, and I think even the name choice, Pornography, is very interesting and intentional. Cold is boy, I mean you don't get a song that's you said metal, Matt, that's a good thing. Yes, it's not bludgeoning you over the head with guitars, but it's sonically heavy, and it sounds like a gigantic weight on you, and that like gripping. You can repurpose that in so many ways, because it's a scary sound, it's a unrelenting sound, it's ominous, but it's like you're being chased by the dark the rest of the album. It finally catches you at cold, and then Pornography is like the afterlife, kind of like the last track. It's just like a deconstructed track at the end.
This go ahead, sorry.
I didn't find it as samey, I think, Matt, as you did, because while there are elements of it that are pervasive throughout the album, within each track I saw variations of it that tied with the theme of lyrically what it is, and also the spacing of the album. I feel like this is very much designed to be listened to as an album, which is why it's so funny that The Cure have this whole other like singles career, right? Because I think of the Cure as somehow both a singles band and an album band, but for some people it's the albums, and for other people it's the singles. And for me, I appreciate their singles, but I'm not waiting for the Cure to give me Just Like Heaven and Love Song. Don't get me wrong, I like them just fine. But like where I connect more with The Cure is like when they get when they're able to write like beautiful songs that are also tragic but also touch my emotions. And this is one that if you're struggling, right, you could put this on, and like if you're already there, right, you might as well put this on to at least feel someone gets it. And
I don't think I've ever struggled that much. Like you know what I mean. Like,
well, consider yourself lucky. You know what I mean. I don't say that tritely either. You know what I mean. And that's probably, Matt, why this was impenetrable for you.
Yeah,
because
it was hard.
I get it. And you are a person that, you know what I mean. I know you say that sometimes you like, but your dark themes, I think, and I'm not an overwhelmingly dark person. Let me start by saying that I luckily I have not struggled mightily with stuff, but I have my moments. You know what I mean. And this is the type of stuff that, that I feel is important. And for some people who struggle with this chronically, I almost feel music like this is vital. So, yeah. It's like medicine.
Is it helpful? Like, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't make you feel worse.
No, you're there already, dude.
Yeah,
if you're in this headspace, you're there already. So what are you to be scared of? It's like more like,
empathy through music, somewhat, maybe?
A little bit. It's hard to, sonically sounds like what you're experiencing. Mm-hmm. And so when you're in that, somehow, at least for me, it's like a release. And it's like an emotional release listening to it. And it kind of, after you have the release, right, then you can move on or recenter a little bit. So much of music for me is like visceral. It really is. And like, this is just one of a certain type of visceral, so.
No, it's interesting because it's like it was hard for me to get there. I didn't get there, but I still.
I knew you were going to not like this album.
But that's the thing. I was just going to say it's not like I don't like this sound. I liked it, but it just ran all kind of together. And then as I was listening to it, I was like, man, it is heavy, and I could probably deal with like. This is another one of those albums where you say it's designed to be listened to as an album. I don't know if I want to listen to it as an album. I would like to listen to a song here, maybe 2 songs there, and then like a little something else, and then come back to this. Yeah, I guess So just because of the variety, I guess is what I was craving.
But that's not what this was designed to do. I actually looked it up to see the quote. His quote that I was trying to remember is, "I wanted to make an album that was unbearable," is what Robert Smith said about this album. And it was basically, he was in like the you know what I mean? He was in like basically a depressive state, and like, I'm going to put...
Here's another great quote. He says, "I had 2 choices at the time, which were either completely giving in, committing suicide, or making a record of it and getting it out of me." He also claims
that's exactly what I just said, right? It's kind of that's and I didn't even read that, but that's how I experienced it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he also claims that he, quote, "really thought that this was it for the group. I had every intention of signing off. I wanted to make the ultimate fuck off record and then sign off." So
it could be read as a suicide note. You know what I mean? Like, because if it hadn't had that effect for him, you know what I mean? This could be. So I mean, you think about like Ian Curtis, right? We talked about how bleak that was, and it did end up being his suicide note. Whereas for Robert Smith, you know what I mean? He transcended and managed to make these gorgeous pop songs.
Yeah, really. It's unreal. It's unreal because he's got
But
some
it's
of the
a testament
best,
to what music can do, too. You know what I mean? Because for him, it was like a life-saving endeavor. And I guarantee you there's people who listened to this album and felt the same way. Like, I guarantee, because I know Cure fans, like, this is their album.
Yeah.
This is their album. I mean, they don't get me wrong. It's like music critics and the casual, right, will say, and I love Disintegration, don't get me wrong, and like stuff like that. But like when you talk to people that, ride or die with the Cure, like this is their Cure.
Wow.
I was going to say that kind of the movie equivalent of this feeling of this album is like Requiem for a Dream.
Oh God!
There's a lot of.
I would way rather listen to this and watch that movie again. Holy crap!
I can recognize the talent and craftsmanship and kind of the powerful nature of it, but I don't want to listen to it all the time, and I don't want to see it all the time.
They were also doing a lot of LSD and drinking tons of booze during this record.
This would be a drug album.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is a desperation album. Like. Yeah, like I said, I describe this album's like medication. Mm-hmm. It's like self-medication as an album. You by the time you get to like Figurehead and Strange Day and Cold, I mean, you are like basically in an altered state. Like whether it be deep depression or, you know, suicidal ideation or drugs, you know. And like I said, by the end, it like breaks into utter chaos in the song Pornography, you know. So
there was a reviewer from NME that said he described it as Phil Spector in hell.
That's actually a very good, because it is a wall of sound.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was Dave Hill from NME. That's funny.
That's a pretty good one, I have to say. Yeah, wall of sound of manic depression, I would say, is definitely what it is. But yeah, this is a thumbs up for it. It's truly it's not for everybody album. If you are a person who shields yourself from feeling this way, and once again, that is totally valid. I'm not saying it's anything like that. You're gonna want to run from this album. And honestly, this album wasn't made for you, which is okay. But it's gonna, you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't try to engage with it because it's not made for you, and vice versa. You know, they shouldn't expect you to listen to it. So, and I don't think Robert Smith would want you to.
Yeah, right.
I think he knows I think it was largely made for him and the band, and then I think later it just was like, how about that? It caught on with other people too. I'm glad it was able to help, type deal. So, yeah. So.
All right. Okay. Well, we will cover The Cure many more times. I think at least 3.
Well, what else do we cover? We probably cover definitely Disintegration, right?
Disintegration, The Head on the Door.
The Head on the Door, yep.
And Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me.
Okay.
They all cracked the top 100 on best ever albums. So
there we go.
Yep.